Welcome back. You're still with us on Startup Street. Sateesh Andra, the managing director of Endiya Partners, anticipates a 30 to 50% increase in funding for deep tech and AI startups. In a chat with CNBC TV 18's Jude Sannith, he highlighted his firm's strong focus on semiconductors, biotech and robotics. Andra also stressed that Endiya Partners takes a thematic approach to investing, urging investors to avoid a sector-agnostic strategy when supporting startups. Take a look.
Definitely last year or two, things have slowed down, and that's because during the zero interest rate period, I think a lot of capital came into the country. Capital was available plenty and inexpensive or cheap from an entrepreneur perspective. So valuation multiples were very high. I think valuation multiples have compressed. So hence, a lot of people who had raised money or raising slowly because they want to make sure there is a revenue growth and they've grown into their valuations so that they can take the next leap forward. But that said, when you invest in private companies, you're looking at a horizon of 10 to 12 years, right? So you're investing today, but you will end up getting the value monetization done 8, 10 years later. So from that perspective, I don't think investors ever look at just the macroeconomic cycles, the bull and the bear cycles for private markets, especially if you go into early stage startups. Again, growth investing is very little, is a little different from venture investing. When you get into venture investing, you've got this time horizon of 10 years. So people do diligence, people slow down a little bit, people ask tougher questions, but that said, the enthusiasm is no less. And given government's push, we've talked about AI mission, we've talked about semiconductors, we've talked about a dedicated deep tech fund of fund, there's a follow-on fund of fund, primarily another 10,000 crores. All of this would have act as huge catalysts for our startup ecosystem. Let me kind of give you, some numbers, right? If a government fund of fund is a 10-20% owner in a particular venture capital fund or a private equity fund, this fund has to raise another 80% from other investors, right? There's already a multiplier effect of 4x. Now, when these funds go invest in startups, those startups, if a daughter fund is an investor in one of the startups, there are other investors who are coming to the table. Right. So overall, you get to see an 8 to 10x type of a multiplier from this kind of a capital. And certainly commoditization of technology.
8 to 10x, I would assume it's in the medium to long term as far as funding is concerned.
Correct.
I'm just curious, year on year, given where we are right now, what kind of a growth in funding on the venture side do you foresee or do you project insofar as AI and deep tech startups here go?
I think I at least see a 30 to 40 to 50% growth year on year. AI would be significantly higher because again, the companies will raise their pre-series A rounds, A, B, C, fairly in quick order. So from that perspective, the growth in AI sector is going to be huge. It's going to be even 100% or more than 100%. Challenges in Indian ecosystem was that investors have been generalists, right? So they are stage agnostic and sector agnostic, and that's not going to work going forward.
That's changing.
You have to be very domain. If you're investing in a biotech company, we have a investment in a company called iStem. They're a cell therapy platform for rare diseases, age-related macular degeneration, right? So you need to have the domain knowledge to be able to go help the company go to the next level. So when you see, or the day you see more investors in the country who have the domain expertise, and also that bridging the chasm between pre-series A to series A, B, this ecosystem will evolve much faster. Right. We've been thematic investor from day one. And that's the reason why for every dollar we put in, our companies have raised $20 from the other investors out there. And even the graduation early on, from like a pre-series A to A or A to B, our portfolio graduation rates have been 2x that of the industry.
Right.
That's because of the focus and thematic approach and the domain expertise that we bring to the table.
And do you see these themes likely to continue, agentic AI, deep tech, tech and SaaS as well, as you continue to make these investments, 12 more companies that you will invest in? Do you hope to continue these themes, or are there any new areas or sectors that you're hoping to get into and make a foray into in your immediate course of action?
Yeah. From a deep tech lens perspective, I think we're going to double down on certainly biotech, semiconductors, robotics, all of these technologies.
All right. And I'm sure our viewers will be very interested in knowing, is there an investment number that you have in mind and you've arrived at yet?
Per company, typically we end up with a 20 crore type of a check. That's our initial check.
Right.
But per company, we end up investing 50 to 60 crores over multiple checks. And through our limited set of investors within our fund, our LPs, they're open to writing an additional 50 crores. So for a performing company from India portfolio, they're assured of 100 crores, close to $12 million.
And that will continue as far as your immediate term investments as well go.
Absolutely.
It's Friday and it's time to take stock of all the deals that took place in the